So then we also have shochu.
Yes.
Right. So
yeah.
shochu, I have only had a few, and when I was working at Ozumo, and that's when I really got into sake, because they had one of the largest sake lists in North America. But they also had shochu. I only had a couple of them, and I wasn't too fond of them. But I'm starting to do some research now, and I'm coming to find that some of those sound pretty tasty. Still haven't had a chance to try it because there's nowhere I can find it. But here, they have an amazing selection of shochu. So, could you want to talk about the different types of shochu you guys
Yeah. So, shochu comes in 4 main categories. You have kome, which is short grain rice, and then you have mugi, which is barley, and then you also have imo, which is sweet potato, and then you have awamori, which is kind of in a category of its own. It has its own designation. Awamori is a shochu that is made with long grain rice, specifically in Okinawa. So those are kind of the main 4 categories. You will see some interesting distillates, or shochus that would be distilled from, say, like soba, buckwheat, or carrots even, or shiso, or sesame seeds. We have a few of those back there in our strange shochus section.
Yeah.
But I chose these 2 here to kind of talk about because right now they're kind of what I'm drinking, and it's they're also very different. The Nankai shochu is a shochu from Amami Oshima, which is also a shochu that is designated to the Amami Islands. This is made from kokuto sugar, which is black sugar, and so it definitely has rum notes. Shochus are so interesting because it seems like it's such a wide category. You have the sugar cane shochu, which is very close. Well, I don't want to say very close to rum, but it's reminiscent of rum.
Okay.
You have your barley shochus, especially when they're aged, can be reminiscent of whiskey. Because it's both aged and it's made from barley. And then you have your rice shochus, which a lot of times the aromatics really kind of remind you of sake.
Okay.
They're a little bit more like floral. They have a slight sweetness. And so there's kind of that kind of style shochu that differs a lot too. And then you have the awamori, which is also kind of like a little rummy, but also a little bit like tequila to me, because it's like an island. It's kind of grassy. It's kind of tropical. The awamori is also very high in proof. So I feel like shochu is the category is so broad, and it's really fun to explore because Japan is making basically all of these distillates under the umbrella of shochu. Yet you could kind of the divisions are many.
Right.
Where, you can explore within the category of shochu. So this is another one. This one is Hyakunen no Kodoku, very famous shochu that I got from my boss in Japan when I moved back to America. So it's it was a very it's a nice bottle.
It definitely it's beautiful. The label and everything too, the packaging.
Yes, yeah. And this one is 40% alcohol, so it's higher. It's been aged for 5 years, and it's a barley shochu. So whenever someone is say a Scotch lover and they're like, I want to enter the shochu category, I will recommend this one. It has that body, the richness, really good on the rocks, and also good neat as well. But a really complex shochu that is also not so cheap, but it's a very, very nice bottle.
So when shochu first came to the United States, they were trying to sell it. They made it 24% below because that was the cutoff, right? To where you didn't need a liquor license.
Yes. Yeah.
So you guys started with just like a beer and wine type license, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then moved to getting the liquor license. I've heard that's really kind of tough to get, especially for a big restaurant, you're going to fork over that money, but I mean, was that a huge investment, or was it just the steps? Was
it is. I mean, it is very difficult. We're such a small business that, I mean, we had to plan it out and, figure out like, how is this all going to work? But it was always in our business plan to have the full line of Japanese drinks, from beer to whiskey. I'm sure you get it too a lot in True Sake, but when we just had the beer and wine, people are like, "Where's your Japanese whiskey?" And we're like, "It's a very different thing," But whiskey, Japanese whiskey is so, and shochu too, is so unique that we knew that it was something that we had to have in the product lineup, despite it being pretty challenging. But we planned it out over the years, and we're like, okay, how do we save for this, and how do we plan for this? It is something that. I mean, it was really worth it though, because we can really talk about how all of these different categories also talk to one another, and how there's always a running theme with, Japanese drinks, I think with cuisine too, but it's that attention to detail. A lot of people, and also like the balance, So a lot of people ask, oh, well, what's the difference between a Japanese whiskey and, a bourbon or a scotch? It's really the balance. Like,
that's what I think too. Yeah, absolutely.
So I know that a lot of people, like, for example, this is a single malt. A lot of people are, really kind of staunch on single malts, but the Japanese are master blenders. And
I love the blends.
Yeah,
they're so much smoother. Just that's all personal preference, but I just think way smoother.
Yeah, definitely. So that's really kind of like, I feel like whenever we're talking about Japanese drinks, that balance is really what a lot of makers in Japan are trying to achieve. Also to match or the drinks to the cuisine. So that's also,
Great. So let's talk about the fantastic whiskeys we have here.
Yeah, so I pulled two. This one is kind of like a lighter, kind of crisp blend, Totori. And I pulled this one because I do want to talk about highballs. In Japan, highballs are, it's like so ubiquitous. I don't like beer as much, so I love getting highballs. Like the first Kanpai, highball is great. It's super like diluted, so it's nice that I could just have it without, getting super like, or it's not so strong. So the highballs in Japan, they're light, they're crisp, they're so refreshing, they're really nice on a hot day, and they make a lot of their whiskeys especially for that drink.
Sorry to interrupt. So what exactly is a highball?
A highball is a drink that is served in this kind of glass, which is a highball glass. You fill it up with ice, and then you add carbonated water, and then you add a little bit of whiskey.
Just a little bit?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, just a little bit, yes, yeah. So that differs a little bit from whiskey and soda, where the ratios are a little bit higher for the whiskey.
Okay.
Whereas a highball, the ratio of the whiskey is lower. And with a Japanese whiskey, it's like perfect, refreshing, crisp, and you can have multiple glasses, which is nice too.
So that's usually before a meal kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, some people have it throughout the meal, but before meal, I like it before the meal. It's also really conducive to like izakaya style dining, because it's just easy to drink alongside all kinds of foods.
Right, yeah, pub style foods.
Yeah,
little snacks, finger foods.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Great.
And then I also pulled one of my favorites. This is the Yochi. It's a single malt from Nikka. Nikka is one of the main whiskey distilleries or makers in Japan. They have two main distilleries. One of them is in Miyagi-kyo in Sendai, and then the other one is in Yoichi in Hokkaido. This one has a little bit more of like a smoky flavor and kind of aroma to it, which I really like. Their other one, the Miyagi-kyo, is a little bit more fruity and has like vanilla notes. I like this because it kind of has that like Scotch, like slight peatiness, a little bit smoky, but still like not hitting you over the head with all that, because it's a Japanese whiskey. It has that kind of subdued kind of balance to it.
Right.
So yeah, this is a great one too. And I wouldn't really recommend mixing with this because it's so good. You could just drink it neat or on the rocks.
Neat or on the rocks.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sounds great. So last but not least, let's talk a little bit about Sake Gumi, which is your sake of the month.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Sake Gumi is my baby. I've been doing it for a little bit over 3 years, and it's kind of like a wine club where you get 2 bottles a month, and it's always under a theme. So I might choose, in the past I've done like Niigata month, or I've done Yamahai month. This month I'm doing Usumigori, which is a light style, unfiltered sake. I also have done sake and cheese month. And so every month members get the 2 bottles and then notes that include temperature suggestions and also food pairing suggestions. And we also do events, and members get other benefits and stuff from being in the club.
Swag.
Yeah. And we have about 150 members now.
Wow.
And most of them are based in the Bay Area, so it's nice to see people coming through, picking up their bottles, but we also do ship within California.
Okay, all over California.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Yoka, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
This
thank
has
you.
been
Thanks for coming by.
Great experience.